Well, thank you for joining us. We're still looking at the Supreme Court ruling on Naira redesign policy and what next after Supreme Court ruling, because the old Naira note has been okay until December 2023. Olusegun Okwade, the chairman, Ikeja Society of ICANN, is still with us looking at this. So I was asking you before we went on break, how soon do you think the presidency and the CBN will respond to this? How soon do you think we can start seeing these old Naira notes in circulation? How long do you think it would take to reissue these notes back in the economy?
CBN, but we can use a previous reaction. First and foremost, let's await the directive from the federal government to CBN on the days that is happening. Upon that, we can give like 2-3 days. I'm sure, when we issued back 200 Naira into circulation, we discovered that it took some few days before those things can actually play out. So we will be awaiting the federal government to react to give instruction to CBN, and thereafter, we should give like 3-4 days. If it's not a weekend, then we should, but 3-4 working days for them to act in redistributing some of those things. That's if we are not to go by what they initially told us, that some of those currencies have actually been destroyed. But if we have the instruction, I'm sure before the end of this week, we should have all things work well and things take the proper shape.
Let's talk about the implications of this. We saw the impact it had when the first phase of the directive, where the Naira, the old one, was mopped out of the system, and we saw that implication on the system. So, what implication will this have now? What is likely to change now that we're not having this old Naira back in the system? What is likely to change in culture, spending, ways of life, and transaction?
Yeah, well, before now, with this policy, I think a lot of things have actually taken a quantum shape, and most especially the area of expenditure. Most expenses these days, people have to think through before they make. And you see the era of giving PR, all these pickpocket that feel they can take your cash. I think that for now has been a thing of the past. But reintroducing this, we might have to say that because there won't be any complaint again. Before now, if you ask me that, sir, can I enjoy you? I can tell you that I'm sorry, except you give me your account. I may not be able to do it. And some people want to avoid that, especially those taking the PR for one thing or the other. But we'll be going back to status quo. I think my own suggestion to improve the economy is to see how the CBN, now they have seen that the infrastructure they have failed the stress test in such a way for them to expand their base in terms of infrastructure to accommodate some of the failures that we're experiencing. But practically most people are adopting the e-channel payment, even though we have 1 or 2 failures. And also situation where we can improve on the customer service of some of these banks. Of late, they've exhibited, we thought they have good customer service platform, but they've exhibited failure because the response rates to people's queries and complaints have been very, 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 let me put that word to infinity, very poor. And that's area which we feel that the CBN needs to put its touchlight to make sure that they improve on this. Banking used to be more of customer-centric, but these days they seem not to have the heart of the customers at hand. And finally, CBN should be considering reducing the charges. For every transaction you do now, maybe bank to bank, you have a debit of 35 Naira kind of. Maybe they should look at it. Some of us doing just 1 or 2 transactions online has resorted doing it about 8, 10, even 15. You want to do something of 500 Naira transfer, they are debiting you 35 Naira or whatever. So you imagine if you do 10 of such in a day, you have actually parted with 500 Naira. So I think if they are taking us to the e-payment platform, which we believe that they are actually working with the bank to improve their infrastructure base, definitely they should consider reducing, if not entirely eliminating, the charges that they are giving for some of these transfers, so that people can definitely be encouraged to make use of the platform.
It looks like automatically once you have these money in circulation, of course, the charges by the POS will perhaps reduce, eventually. But let's
Of course, it's a demand and supply policy. Currently, the demand seems to be outweighing the supply. That's why we see the increase in the charges from them. But as soon as this is normalized, we go back to maybe 100 naira that you pay on 1,000, 5,000, and 200 on 10,000, as against thousands that is being charged for 5,000 and 10,000.
All right. I know, just let's just look at this in a moment. I know that the time frame given by the Supreme Court will provide a kind of opportunity to assess this policy again between now and December. Of course, the CBN needs to sit down and do a reassessment of this policy, whether it has worked or it has not, whether they failed or they've not failed. So what as they sit down to do a reassessment, what are the things that they need to put in place in terms of lessons that we've learned from this one, so that we can create, an economy that will work, more likely that will impact on the microeconomic activities down there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think some of the lessons. Yeah, the period that they have actually given by the Supreme Court, I think is more than enough. Even within this shortest possible time that this policy came out, there are lessons that those people can learn from. Number one, I think there should be a research to actually know who and who are dearly in need of some of this cash policy, even if you're introducing electronic. Then encourage more the fintech company that has come to possibly salvage the issue for the traditional banking, so that we can reduce the human interface. We've seen a lot of fintech, and we can see their deliverables that is top notch. But the security and the protection of people's funds must definitely be priority to CBN as we proceed in this. Another area that I want them to look at is to have good feedback mechanism. When things are happening outside, people should be able to use technology, possibly have a 1 minute, 2 minute recording of activities going on. There are times you have series of ATMs, 6, 7, none is functioning, and you get there, you get stranded, even when there was cash. So there should be feedback mechanisms for CBN to report the activities of some of these commercial banks, so that they can be put to check in some of the things they are doing. Otherwise, they always tell you, like CBN was rating himself, that this policy, they've considered it, that they actually succeeded. But we can tell you that there are lots of failure. It came out this morning, even you've seen the dailies, that the CBN, the commercial bank e-payment platform failed stress test, and that we can confirm, because I don't think there's anyone who has adopted e-payment portal platform that will not complain to you that the failure rate is just on the high side compared to what we used to have before. So these are areas we feel they need to work more with the commercial bank to make sure that at least they triple whatever they have as we speak, because the transaction rates are going higher. And don't forget that most corporate organizations who are really not being affected with this is the common man. So there is need for a deep research into the rural area, so that you will not be actually giving the elites the opportunity. There are other areas, and there must be sensitization when there are other alternatives that these people nip down there needs to make use of. And the one thing that I see CBN failing to do is that they brought about Naira, and as we speak, they seems not to be promoting Naira. So you ask yourself the question, what the problem is all about, that you have a fantastic policy that people can use a barcode and they get e-payment, Naira payment, this service everywhere where they are. We seems not to be having the necessary awareness on that particular policy of Naira. So this should be another avenue which they need to, sensitize the populace about, so that if we are adopting it, we know we are adopting it. But research needs to be done to have understanding of the deeper people that have understanding of who and who needed those cash.
Well, I think as we drive home on this conversation, we need to look at the role of money in an election. Election is just, the governorship election is just 5 days ahead of us. If you recall, one of the reasons again why some people have applauded the Naira redesign policy is that it was meant to curb vote buying during the presidential election, and perhaps that was to an extent successful. But election is just away now. The Supreme Court ruling is in place and is perhaps going to favor money flying around. So, are you concerned as a Nigerian that again money may play a very huge role in the coming election with regards to fear that there might be vote buying?
Yeah, I think at the beginning I mentioned that don't be surprised that the federal government may be silent as regards this CBN ruling, or even if they respond by bringing some technicality until after the gubernatorial election, because they still want to insist that vote buying needs to be managed. Although the presidential election, we cannot have it 100%. But the truth of the matter is that they are able to achieve substantially what is expected of it. And I see them not yielding the floor this week because of the gubernatorial election, so that they can curtail and manage the issue of vote buying. Like we heard in some quarters, I think they curtail vote buying with Naira. But we learned that there are some people that actually use the foreign currency to actually buy their...
Let's try to wrap it up now.
Vote. So these are areas which we feel that government need to work on.
Okay. Well, I think we shall leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing your thought with us. Olusegun Okwade is the chairman, Ikeja District Society of ICAN. We appreciate you for coming on board.
Thank you very much, Frank, for having me. And to all our viewers, we wish you the very best of the week.
Okay, you too.